Hi, I'm Debbie Cole. I'm a mixed media artist and a decorative painter, and I'm Stampendous' creative director. And today I'm going to be showing you how to create interesting backgrounds on this traditional piece. The first thing I do is I begin with the DecoArt paints, and I'm going to be using the Dreamweaver stencils. And I'm taking some light buttermilk, and I'm using the Dreamweaver stencil brushes, and I'm going to load and then offload the paints. And so what I'm looking for is just a residue of paint into my brush. Then I'm going to come over to my surface, and I've already painted this cardstock, and I paint on cardstock all the time with DecoArt paint, and it helps receive the paints that much better once it's already been pre-painted. So I'm going to just come in and use a swirling motion. I would generally be taping this, but I'll pick underneath, and that looks really good. So then what I can do is just move it over and repeat it.
Got it. You can look at any boards, all of this.
Okay, and then what I would generally do is continue that on until it's completely done. Then I'm going to take my leaf stencil, and I want to create layers just like I've done on this surface over here, where I have the very light green leaves, and then I'm going to come in with the darker green leaves. So I'll come in and I'm loading it with some mint julep green. And again, I want to use just a residue of paint. Now you can use either a swirling motion, but because I'm not taping it, I'm going to actually pounce it so that I make sure that I'm not going to go over the edges. If I was at home, I would tape all of these into position. But then once I'm away from the edge, I can continue with my swirling motion. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a little bit darker green color, again, adding the layers so that we're creating depth within the design. And what I love about the DecoArt paints is they're so rich and thick. I can actually come in and base coat all of these colors with just one application using a sponge. So again, if I was at home, I would tape these into position. You can see that I already have the bird base coated. And then I'll come in and I can put in the flower. And I simply load and then offload my sponge just so there's just not too much paint in there. But I'm using white, and you can see how nicely the titanium white covered the leaves, and that's just with one coat. And that's because the DecoArt is so rich and creamy. And then I can put another flower over here. I'll load again. And so then when I go to actually stamp the flowers and the bird, it's really easy to do. I come in with some lamp black, and again I load and then offload. Because essentially what you want is you want your cosmetic sponge or dauber to look like a ink pad. And so I'm going to come in and just very lightly go over the bird. And then I'm going to try to line it up. And you can see that went right over the base coat. Now with the flowers, what I like to do is come in with whatever color that I'm going to be shading it with. So I'm going to come in with a darker orange color. And then again, I simply line this up and press down. So you don't need inks to stamp with. You can get beautiful impressions with the DecoArt paints, whether they use in the fluid acrylics or the DecoArt Americana. They make wonderful impressions. So once the bird is dry then, what I can do is thin the paints. I'm thinning the paint and I'm making what's called a wash of color. And this is making it more like an ink-like consistency. When I blot my brush and I come in and just wash over the bird, and I can start colorizing him. And then when that dries, I would simply come in and shade it with my shade colors, and come in and add texture with highlight colors by adding fur or feathers to the bird. And then we would have a beautiful project. Who knew that you could create such beautiful projects using DecoArt Americana products and awesome stencils and stamps from Stampendous. Thank you for joining me today.